It's just a shame that I donated my money to my Bitcoin to Ukraine.
Man, I'm going to put you on my own personal sanctions list just for doing that.
What fucking sanctions are you going to give?
No.
Mute your voice of every pod.
Yeah, no after pod BJs, obviously. You're sanctioned. And I know how much you like them.
Oh, fucking hell.
He's gutted. He's actually crying.
I'm crying.
He's devastated.
He's crying.
I just can't believe you said that in the middle of a pod.
Okay, here it is. Big apology, but pod number 48 is back. The world's most bullish podcast, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Never Look, aka the Excellence of Execution, and Mrs. No Show, aka Mrs. No Show. There's no change in that. She doesn't get an alias to the alias.
Yeah, Starbucks drinking motherfucker.
Yeah. Okay, apologies. We are back.
Where'd that new intro come from? We kept that one secret.
Hey, I thought
It's been working on it for the
last
last 2 weeks.
Yeah, last 2 weeks. I just thought, why not? Let's give them, the world of this economic finance wheel machine is like WWE, as we refer to many a time. So let's give ourselves some more personas, right?
I like it. We'll have to have a week off more often if you're going to come back with this kind of creativity.
Thanks. Had time to think, but it's all good. And we're back with some great stories for the week as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're good ones because obviously we missed a week. So I've kind of almost taken a couple out, added a couple from this week. And then, so there's like 10 pretty heavy hitting stories. I think there's quite a meaty little agenda we've got here this week. And it's, I think it flows quite nicely as well. We've got a nice mixture of stuff. It's not too much one or the other, just a nice little blend of everything we like to talk about with some nice bullshit at the end. And by the way, no one listens to the end. And I think they're genuinely missing out. At that point, I'm normally quite drunk and the topics get silly. So for everyone because I know people click off, because I can see it in the stats. So people don't tend to last past the first hour. So personally, I my favorite part of the pod is the last 30 minutes. So
my favorite part is when you leave.
We all leave.
Yeah, so we're a year older, more wiser, but we're going to give you more bullshit this week than ever before.
Yeah, we both had a halving in it, I feel like.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We literally had our halving last Tuesday, didn't we? So it's that was our excuse for not being here.
Yeah. Dr. Evil 10%, you could have held the fort, but you were busy also, right?
Not on a Tuesday, but it would just be me and my Todd. It would have been like, we've had the shows of misinformation, but this would have just been on a whole new level. It's just like, so Dr. Evil 10%, what do you think of this? You are right. Completely right, and fuck everyone else.
The numbers would have been skewed, nothing would have added up, the stories would have been false.
I don't do wrong numbers. I may do misinformation, but the numbers always stack up.
Oh, I don't know. On one of those episodes, I went through the stats and some of the maths you did on something, and they did not add up.
It was a live performance. It was pressure.
I think he's just lying to discredit me.
Oh man, I even edited the YouTube version with the correct maths overlaid on your bad maths.
Your discrediting is not going to work.
It's a classic. He gets up on stage and he can't remember the spelling words that he's been remembering all week. Right, he couldn't recite them.
But yeah, a single episode of the People's Champ. I reckon it'd have gone all right.
Yeah.
People's Champ. Get the missus in as well. So what do you think of this, wife?
Yeah. The People's Champ. That's your name.
I
don't know it, but yeah, of course.
It'll never move away from Dr. 10%, I don't think.
No, it won't. Like Dr. 10% is there to stay, but in brackets, the People's Champ.
Yeah. You are the average guy in terms of, again, it was always said it. If you get Bitcoin, everybody should get Bitcoin. And you've got more than 10%, everybody else should be going more than 10%. If I can get Bitcoin, I'm you're Mr. Adverse.
Yeah, and just remember, the average person is thick as shit.
Cheers, Mr. Orlin. Well, both myself and Sir Neverlook are in the office on Thursday, so there'll be some truth bombs getting dropped, and there'll be some people getting told to have fun staying poor.
Naturally.
I can't believe it. I pulled that out the other week when I was talking to someone. He said, I just haven't had time. I said, have fun staying poor. Put my headphones back in.
The thing is, it's such a good insult because if no one's got the context that it's a meme, they're just super offended.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so funny. Yeah, it's so funny you say that because I'm in a property group as well, and somebody was asking for some advice on a flat that they wanted to buy, and someone said, well, basically go in a little bit higher, take it off the market, and then as and when you want to renegotiate at the time of exchange, obviously tell them, well, we want to pay this. And I said, your advice was nice because my response was have fun staying poor and make sure my rent's not late.
My Bitcoin memes just become part of the general kind of speaking language of the normal world. I'm just so there for it. It's
I think over the past almost year now, we have definitely become a lot more toxic. I did when I put my headphones back in at that moment in work, I thought, I can't believe I just said that in real life, and it wasn't just Twitter.
I know. I think you guys used to say, like, I think on one of the early pods, I was like, toxic maximalism. It's just, there's a reason for it. It's like, sometimes we're just fucking fed up. And I mean, you were like, no, but we need to like bring everyone in. It's like, I'll see you in 2 years. And like, you'll be fucking fed up. Like, when the same person comes up to you with the same bullshit, and you've already spoken to this person at length numerous times, you're just at the end of your tether. You're like, have fun staying poor. I'll see you in 10 years. Like, you'll be buying Bitcoin for 15 million a coin. Come back then.
Well, they won't be buying a coin. And they'll have fun mopping my deck on my boat.
Oh man, that reminds me of the quote that I said, where it's like, you'll be mopping the deck of my boat that lives inside my other boat. So, I think my man of the people mantra, like, sticker just went that day. I'm like, and that's why you're the man of the people and I'm not.
I don't know, but it's going to wear off pretty soon, and exactly. I think we're going to have to recruit someone to be the man of the people.
Yeah,
because I think I am getting way too deep. I thought I was in deep about a year ago. It's just got worse and worse, or better and better. However you want to class it.
Yeah.
Stay humble and stack sats until you got 2 boats, and fuck it.
If she dies, she dies.
What do we want to start on anyway? So we actually go to topics.
Yeah, let's start at the top. I think if we go from the top to bottom today, it should be a good rhyme.
Yeah, definitely.
Have we actually? So this is about Honduras. So this is, I think it's originated through rumor, and then Max Kaiser putting up a Honduras flag as a Twitter status. But we actually had confirmation of anything, because the only thing which I've seen is Bitcoin denying it. Honduras denying it.
No, the president of Honduras Actually, I thought it was in this article. Yeah, she's saying here, we must now not allow El Salvador to be the only country escaping the dollar. We have the right to move to the first world. So without saying it, and she said, Castro making a Monday morning announcement, putting on the lasers, one source said. So it's obviously it's sources, but she's on Twitter. I follow this woman on Twitter. So I saw actually names, so I'm not just calling her the woman.
Yeah, so Xiomara Castro. So I made sure I kind of understood how to pronounce her name ahead of the pod whilst doing the research on this. So I'm going to kind of marry Xiomara Castro to Nayib Bukele because they will be the Adam and Eve of the Bitcoin world. You know, when we look back in history, we'll remember that it was Honduras and El Salvador as the two countries that took the plunge first, and obviously you've got a man and a woman, so it's perfect.
It was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Let's have a follow. I've got a follow on her, so let's see what she says.
Yeah.
So yeah, good comments, promising. It'll be great to have the second country because I think it's the hardest one to get on. Then we're hoping, obviously, that we do get a bit of a knock-on effect. We're still waiting for Turkey to make their move.
Yeah, I think with El Salvador, like that was always going to be, that one could be kept quiet because no one was expecting it. I was not expecting a country to go on to legal tender. It was all about companies going on to a Bitcoin standard via putting their balance sheet into Bitcoin instead of holding it in dollars. But then when El Salvador did it, it totally blindsided people. But now everyone's looking for the next. So I think that fundamentally, these guys are going to announce next week at Bitcoin 2022. That'll be when they announce. So at the moment, she's saying so many positive things that are so close to Bitcoin without saying we're going to Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
But the only reason she's doing that is because they're announcing it next week with Bukele on stage. So they want their big moment in the spotlight. So we're kind of...
I misread that article. So fair point. But I still do hold up that hope that next week it isn't just Honduras, it's multiple countries.
Yeah, it could.
So maybe that's a big surprise, is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be recording on the eve of Bitcoin 2022. So what will naturally be for us, our podcast number 50 might be a big one. So stay tuned for listeners.
Yeah. Actually, I think it starts on the 6th, doesn't it? So
so it starts on the 6th.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, we're recording on the 5th. So we're probably just about going to miss that news. It'll be a week
we'll
late.
Scrape all the dregs. So maybe we have to do a shitcoin classic.
Well, there should be some big stories, and there's typically lots of other good chats as well. So it'll make for great listening once again for Pod 50.
There'll always be shitcoin and NFT scams going on, so we can always pull some of those in.
Actually, it'd be nice to have our second country on Pod 50, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's our number. But then, we talk about Bukele. He's our next story, isn't he?
He is indeed. So Nayib Bukele. Want to run with this?
Yeah, and so basically, the United States have put a bill together on my little minimized screen that I can't read, so I'm going to try and do it from memory. But essentially, it is saying that we need to be wary of countries going onto a Bitcoin standard. They name El Salvador in the bill and start to say we need to basically put measures in place to stop this continuing. So Bukele is just responding to it, going, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that the US government be afraid of what we're doing here. Because El Salvador as an economy is, it's a mosquito compared to the kind of blue whale of the United States. It's just, it wouldn't even notice it, right? But they've actually got a bill in place to go, their economic policy is a threat to the US government.
There's two parts to that. So you kind of touched upon it, but so the kind of like, let's make sure we can control them pretty much, which is, do they meet the requirements of FATFA? So that's a regulatory requirement. So basically, can you track the currency, which is what they want to know? You can through blockchain, as we all know. And because it's a currency, you've got to buy it somewhere. So I don't think it's really an issue. But what's really interesting, this one, is whilst they're putting up this big scare on saying we're going to basically monitor you, so no one else do this, on part D, We've got points, what is it, 3? So the impact of such adoption of a cryptocurrency on the unbanked population of El Salvador. So that is a really big win for Bitcoin. You know, oh, you're only bringing in £10 a month or £100 a month. You can't have a bank account. You don't have enough money for us to lend out 7 times. But with Bitcoin, you can, and no one's going to risk your money as well, which is great. And then the second one is the flow of remittances from the United States to El Salvador. So whilst they're trying to say, oh, you may be sending money and not paying tax or whatever on it, well, actually, it's going to save people like, what is it, about $30-40 per $100 on sending back to El Salvador, which is a massive win for the people. So, you know, not just some billionaires, some people who are getting shit on every day.
Yeah. And just imagine how crazy is it in this bill? They want to understand the impact of the adoption on the unbanked population as if it's a bad thing. Like these people that are basically scum have bank accounts. What's going on? Like, we haven't let scum have bank accounts before. It's almost how it reads, right? It probably isn't meant that way, but like, what the hell? I'd like, if I'm trying to like be positive towards them, I'd go, oh, they're looking to do the learnings, and go, there's still millions of people in the United States don't have bank accounts. Maybe they're going to look and go, oh, maybe we should do something similar and try and learn their lessons and get the unbanked banked by using something like Bitcoin. But straight away, I already know, even if that line's in there, what they really mean is the traditional banking market. They're not profitable in that, but CBDCs, you can have one of these. And obviously it's still a government wallet, government issued currency. Maybe it's cheaper because it's not using the bank finance infrastructure, but it's still fiat under the hood. It's just a CBDC shitcoin that has got a government stamp on it.
Absolutely, and obviously you can also monitor you in a lot closer way than cash can. So I would definitely be wary, as other countries will be, for this new what's known as ACES Act. So the Accountability for Cryptocurrency in El Salvador Act. So I'm sure they'll be trying to slap this on other countries, but it makes you always wonder. Whenever they try to ban something or obviously create a bill to kind of kibosh it, kind of makes you think that it's working, right?
Exactly. We're definitely in the then they fight you stage, as we've already said. You know, they're taking this seriously now. Like, we've got some FUD on here that is the traditional FUD, but this is just outright, we're scared of people using Bitcoin. That's all it is.
Absolutely. If they're taking the time to do this, it means that something's working.
There's no mention of like terrorism or money laundering. It's just people are using this as a day-to-day currency. This doesn't sound good. That's what the dollar is for. What the fuck? And you're like, now you're getting it. That's what Bitcoin's for. It's everyday money. That's all it is. It's nothing more complicated than that.
It wasn't really originally, but with Lightning Network coming in, then it did disrupt the market. You know, that was the big advancement, which really put it on day to day, because before that, it was gold. It was like the digital gold store of wealth, which no one can fuck with.
Well, kind of. It started as money because the fees were tiny because no one used it. And then it's probably around 2013. You're probably right, between 2013 and 2017. So we had 5 years where it was absolutely perfectly, it was like pence to use Bitcoin. But then 2013 happened and a big spike into traffic between then and 2017. Where fees probably did get too big, but then 2017 Lightning comes out and fees go back down to 1 sat a transaction and you're fine again. So essentially Bitcoin found a way. It was perfectly designed originally, but Satoshi even said, like, this doesn't scale. It probably is designed as more of a bearer asset, and you're going to have to figure out a better way of transacting. But even Satoshi said you're probably gonna have to build extra layers on top of the main chain and settle to it later. And so that's what we did. We built Lightning, and Bitcoin's a settlement layer, and you've got a payment layer on top. Works
now,
nice.
The US are afraid of 2 things: China and Bitcoin.
Oh man, I'm Russia.
I just don't really care about Russia.
Biden shitting himself live on TV.
Well, don't worry. He's got a prompt card to deal with that.
Did you see my retweet of that?
If shit oneself, read it must have been McCurry.
So funny, isn't it?
I think China America are worried more so if Russia and China join alliances together, they're much stronger.
Yeah, and by cutting Russia off from the Western world, it literally leaves them one customer, which is China. And China don't give a shit about breaking sanctions of the West. They're sanctioned to fuck anyway. So they're like, if they don't want your oil and gas and wheat, we'll take it.
We need it.
And now everyone's looking at it going, you're not allowed to do that. And it's like, well, you're just pushing your two biggest enemies.
You can't sanction China because the US owes China so much money, and also US depends upon China for all its manufacturing.
Yeah.
So they're fucked.
Well, I thought that about Russia, though. I didn't think we could do sanctions on Russia because they're going to switch off the oil and gas and all the wheat crops. And we still did it. And then and now Biden's on TV going, yeah, we're going to have food shortages and energy crisis. I'm like, this isn't surprise. That's where you get the majority of, a large percentage of your food and energy from is Russia. And yeah, and China is the manufacturing kind of home of the world. So you can't sanction either of them really, unless you're basically shooting yourself in the foot by doing so. But we've still done it. It's why I just don't get the whole thing. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's classic, isn't it? It's like there was no forethought whatsoever.
No. But the one that I didn't realize was the wheat one. Like there's something like 30 to 40% of the wheat, and like wheat goes into fucking everything. Again, another thing I didn't really realize, it gets ground down and like so many different products and foods get made out of the wheat. And basically because there's a war going on, not only, and the sanctions, obviously, not only can we not get it through the sanctions, but also because we're at war, they might not even be planting the fields and they're not going to harvest them. So even if the sanctions get lifted, like tomorrow, there still will be no wheat there. And this is going to cause global famine. It's insane. And it's just right in front of us. And the leaders just seem to be plowing ahead going, nope, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Well, it's a combination of both Russia and Ukraine in terms of the wheat. But from Russia, they also hold a lot of the precious metals that are needed in things. So things like nickel, lithium, uranium, and especially pure quartz and raw materials as well. So yeah, we needed to have thought about this a little bit better.
Yeah. And that's why I always think like they did think about this and they're happy with the consequences.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it kind of falls back to the horrible theory that I have, which is the controlled demolition of the modern world, which will disguise the reason why we really need a great reset, because the currencies will fail. But fundamentally, there's going to be food shortages, kind of natural energy shortages, natural resource shortages. And from the looks of it, like if lockdown didn't do it and kill enough businesses anyway, and create huge waiting lists in our health service, as well as inflating the money like 30, 40%, they now seem to be going after the energy, food, and manufacturing. And you're going, well, yeah, this is going to cause chaos and it's going to kill millions. And as always, the poorest are going to get hit first.
Yeah.
And then what's the best way always of bringing in a revolution or a great reset? The people need to be desperate and on their last kind of like they're down on their knees. And then when someone stands up and goes, I've got the answer, we just need to do this, it's going to be a massive reset. You're going to have to work in this weird environment where you're just getting paid a set wage for all the jobs, and we're going to reset all the money to zero and all that type of stuff. How do you get someone to agree to that? They need to be on their knees and just going, it's better than death, fine. So it's horrible, but I look at this stuff, I go, it makes no fucking sense. And the only way I can make sense of it is they're doing it on purpose, because there's an end goal here. They're trying to get us to agree to something, and we won't agree to it unless the country is nearly on fire. And it's what they're doing.
I mean, like the pandemic and locking us down.
Exactly like that, yeah. That was 2 years of breaking us, yeah. And I think they realized that wasn't enough. They needed something more. So they went, let's cut off the supplies properly. And
they've got an excuse to say this as well.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, Russia's bad. We can't give them money, right? No one agrees to giving a warmonger money, so we're going to cut it off. It's like, well, hold on, that warmonger heats our homes and puts food on our table. So maybe we should keep paying him so we get that in return, right? No. Principles, come on, you need to have principles. I'm not going to die for them, mate. And at the moment, they're not pitching that way, are they? They're not. All the people with the Ukraine flags and going, yeah, let's go and bomb Putin. No, none of them seem to realize what the consequence of that is, which is a global famine and all the kind of shit that you get in your home. None of it will be there because all the natural resources come from Russia and Ukraine. And you're like, dangerous game we're playing.
And we're in and we're off. And the bell has rang. And we're in the prelims right now, as we say.
Oh man, I can't wait for the main event.
Yeah. It's coming. I'm listening to the fourth turning right now. And yeah, it's definitely there. I think the years 2024, 2025.
We said that the final turning would be between 2005 and 2025 was his prediction originally.
Yeah.
And so we're coming to right towards the end of that squeaky button. But the final bit is civil disorder.
Yeah. Which I think that's what they're trying to avoid. And they're going to avoid it by starving us out.
Yeah. Because he talks about the fact that it's at the last of a fourth turning always coincides with polarizing opinion. So your left versus the right. Because you look at America, it's ridiculous how far left people are now and thinking it's acceptable. And I say that there isn't so much the same presence on the right, which I've seen anyway in mainstream media, but that big polarizing opinion that if you're on the right, you're a monster pretty much. And it's just like, well, no, it's just that people have got a different view on how the economy should be run and how people should coexist, which is more dependence on yourself in order to survive rather than as a group. But yeah, I'm reading The Fourth Turning and I'm still listening to Ray Dalio's Changing World Order. So we're on the same kind of like list, myself and Cern have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very good. That it's weird. Just as an anecdotal example, I just went for a walk just round where I am, and under two of the bridges that I walked under, it said "fuck the Tories," which is our version of the right, isn't it? And you just go, that's where the anger's being levered, right? It's just being levered at half of the population that essentially voted for the government that we currently have. You go, you get all your anger's misplaced. It's just so misplaced. Like you should say fuck the banks, and fuck politicians. Don't separate it left and right. They're all the fucking same. We've how many like just in the UK we've swung left and right every 8 years or so, don't we? And when you zoom out and go, right, let's just have a look what each government did. They all printed a fuck ton of money and stole loads of it. Nothing else changed. So let's just stop being left and right. It's like, it's us against the government. We should unite. There's so many more of us than there are of them. If we actually stop watching the TV and kind of getting divided and conquered and actually just collated, then we would be so much more powerful and they wouldn't be able to get away with half the shit they do. Which I think is why the Bitcoin movement's so good, because it's just not political. You'll rarely find politics in Bitcoin unless we're just ridiculing politicians. And it'll be left and right. It doesn't matter. We don't give a shit if you're left or right. If you're speaking and you're a politician, you're probably lying. So we just make fun of you. And more people need to be like Bitcoiners and just fuck all politicians.
What do you think means that people haven't taken the thought process to think that, by the way, in terms of each 8 years, 10 years or so, we've gone left, we've gone right, we're going left again, gone back to right, but things haven't really changed.
They believe the lies, because if you listen to each side's excuses, it's say Labour get in after the Tories, right? They'll go, well, the first 4 years was just trying to clear up the mess of the Tories. So you can't have a go at us for that. Then the second 4 years will be, oh, right, yeah, we didn't do any of the good things we said we were going to do. It's because the Tories blocked us. They wouldn't let things get through. And eventually people get pissed off with them and just vote in the Tories. And then they spend the first 4 years going, we're undoing the bad work of Labour. And then the last, it's just excuses. There's no accountability. And
it's not excuses. It's just the way in order to stockpile the money into either our own pockets or to our friends' pockets.
yeah, I'm just saying that's what the public hear, though, right? And that's why they don't think it's a scam, because they don't hear that. They don't realize all they're doing is printing money and taking it out for third-party contracts. The excuses they get is it's the other side's fault. The other side makes such a mess. It took us ages to clear it up. Sorry.
So is there what's the word? A kind of like a line where things like in China and in the US, not in the US, in China and Russia, where they've got that dictatorship and that stability. Not that we need dictatorship, but that stability of not having to chop and change. Is that good, perhaps?
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for consistent leadership. And, I think it's weird, but I'm also not a fan of politics, not a fan of governments leading. But I'd probably be a fan of a very small government leading, and I would be a fan of allowing people to govern for as long as they get voted in for. This whole, you can do a certain term. It's like, no, if anything, it should be almost like a lifetime job. Like if someone's good at it, like you don't have, I always relate it back to business, right? You don't have a CEO for 4 years, vote him in again and go, he did a great job. Then after the next 4 years, go on your bike. Yeah. Like, what? Why is he going? He's done 8 years of great work. Let's keep him for another 8, another 20, another 30. Until he loses his mind, you don't get rid of him. So that's what we should do. The
risk is you end up like China, where it pretty much is a dictatorship. You then get clamped down by CBDCs as well.
Well, yeah, we just
if you're voting still. Yeah.
Do they vote in China? I don't really know how their government works.
I think it's done via, I think it's the family, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a family dynasty. It's basically like a royal family. They just pass it down to each person. But yeah, you obviously you need to put measures in place to stop that happening. So if someone goes, I'm just going to pass it down to my son, you go, no, that isn't the thing. You get voted in as the president or prime minister, whatever you want. But if he's doing a good job, you just keep voting them. I don't think there should be basically a time limit on it. But then obviously if that person then tries to pass new laws to go, I can be prime minister for ages, like Putin essentially did that. There was time limit on how long he could be. And then he just went, you know what, I'm going to be it forever. And then, oh, and by the way, we're going to stop voting for me now because I know I'm that great. You never want to change me. Okay, now it's got, now you've got a dictator now. So it's that very fine line, which fundamentally I don't think we can ever get there, which is why my nirvana would be that. But fundamentally, I think people always get corrupt. And once they get to the top, people get to them. And so fundamentally, I just don't really want a government. I'd rather us just have a load of big companies that we can pick and choose from, and it'd be the free market. And we don't have government. We don't really need them.
What about if I was to run the country?
People's Champ can do whatever the damn well he likes, right?
I'd be like, send the bees to Mr. Orlin's house.
You'd make us all count our calories and bollocks. I'm not doing that.
But you would definitely say, keep your shit coins off my fucking feed, yeah? Wouldn't you?
Damn straight I would.
Keep your shit coins off my fucking feed.
Is that the next story?
It is a shitcoin, yeah.
Yeah, it is indeed. So this one's interesting because I was listening to another guy talk about this, and he was saying that, and the story will be, and I'll just for context, so Terra Luna co-founder reveals massive 3 billion Bitcoin purchase is already underway. So Terra Luna is a stable coin, in quotation marks for those listening on any podcast, and behind the stable coin they are placing Bitcoin as the reserve currency. And is there a debate now that stable coins, or shit coins as we commonly refer them to, should potentially use Bitcoin as the backup to them? What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, exactly. You're spot on. Yeah, because usually stable coins are stable in the fact that they peg themselves to $1. Because it should be that for every one of the stable coin, there was $1 behind it. And Luna essentially were doing that, but they seem to have gone, you know what, we're essentially moving to a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
The stable coin that we want to peg ourselves to will be Bitcoin. So obviously at the moment, it won't necessarily be stable, but eventually it will be. Yes. So we're just going to ride it and go, we've got different use cases. And this is, again, it's another layer really. So potentially there could be a use case for stable coins just because it's a little bit of it's not a competitor to Bitcoin, it's competitor to Lightning. Correct. So it's just another way of moving Bitcoin for cheaper off the main chain. So it could be fine. And yeah, these guys have got a shit ton of money. I don't know where they got their money from, but they've got 10 billion in total that they want to move into Bitcoin. They've already started buying 3 billion. And undoubtedly, I think when this news came out and they kind of said they'd already bought about, or in the process of buying 3 billion, I think the price had already started moving up. And then this story is about a week old now. And the price has pretty much gone up about 10K since then. So I think it's probably these guys that are buying up all the spare Bitcoin, and the price is just ticking up pretty much, getting close to 50K now. Whereas I think we were, at the top of 30K this time in 2 weeks ago.
I really kind of like this because I think this will actually shake out a lot of the shit coins if they can't back it up, and then obviously go on to a Bitcoin standard, because ultimately everything else in terms of those shit coins that are out there, as you said, aren't being backed by anything. And those fake projects that are out there, because a lot of them are, and the nothing coins, they just won't even get off the ground, which is good, and people won't get wrecked.
Yeah, because it separates them as a stable coin as well, because they're the first ones to do it. So imagine if you're like holding in a stable coin and it's backed by the US dollar, but then you're holding that thinking you're safe when hyper Bitcoinization happens. So the US dollar essentially goes to zero. And so now your stable coin is now held stable at $1, but the spending power has gone down by 99%.
Absolutely.
It wasn't very stable, really, was it? You've still got the same amount of dollars worth of that stable coin, but those dollars only buy you a loaf of bread now instead of a Lamborghini. So that wasn't a smart, very stable decision to have made. Whereas if you hold Luna,
yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't recommend to buy it. I wouldn't recommend anything. I'm not going to buy any, but I see it as a competitor to Lightning. So I might try it out. I might try this Luna out, see if it's any good, see if I can send Luna anywhere, because essentially it'd be the same as sending
That
Bitcoin.
Sounds like the words of a shitcoiner.
Maybe. Hey, experimentations. Nothing wrong with experimentation.
You disgust me.
Testing out Lightning.
Yeah, there's a difference between experimenting and obviously thinking that you're going to hodl this and it's going to go to the moon like your dink doink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if anything, I know that I'd only put like £10 worth into this. It would be like an experiment. I'd fully expect probably just to lose my money. Like Luna would probably just get rug pulled the second I freaking put £10 in. But yeah,
sounds like you're just easing yourself in when you'll be buying more and more, selling your Bitcoin. And then soon enough, you'll be giving out HJs around the back of the station again to get more Luna.
Again. Use the word again.
Well, he got no job, has he?
Other than giving HJs around the back of Asda.
He's got to get to the $1 trillion man status somehow, right?
Always stacking sats.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if let's see what happens. Do Kwon, is he because I don't know much about the founder. Do you know much about him? Can you say anything about Do Kwon?
Yeah, he is a legend in the space. But I think he started off as a Bitcoiner, then very quickly went crypto. So I think this is like his 5th project or something, and the other 4 have been all hugely successful, but only for him. Like as always, what's the shitcoin's main use case? Enriching the founder. So he has got incredibly wealthy, which I wouldn't be surprised actually. The 10 billion they've probably got is just his. It's just part of what the money he's got. So I don't trust it.
It's all positive, so like it does point towards Bitcoin, which is, you know, our whole kind of thinking. So it does back up that. But yeah, Bitcoin is a way. But like you said, it's, do you want to do Lightning or do you want to do Luna? And I kind of go, is there a point to Luna?
Yeah, probably not, but who knows? The main thing is it's interesting is they're going to buy $10 billion worth of it to stack behind a shitcoin project, which who gives a fuck? Okay, fine. You're converting a shitcoin and buying a shit ton of Bitcoin. Good. They might dump it, admittedly. It could end up being a bit of a Trojan horse where the price goes up and then these shitcoiners want to dump it and then pump a different shitcoin with the money, with the gains. It could end up biting us in the ass.
When they go into Dink Donk.
Exactly. Imagine if like they're 10 billion, they bought in Bitcoin, went up to 100 billion when it 10x's, and then they just dumped it onto Dink Doink. Man.
So they're going to go for a Dink Doink standard.
Yeah.
Dink Donk standard.
Everyone will be Dink Doinking.
Throwing in some stick dicks as well.
I'm going to go and buy some Dink Doink now just in case.
And then Crypto Zoo.
Yeah, talking of lightning, that's our next story.
Let's do it.
I don't know why the Bitcoin magazine has tweeted it like this, but it says it's the Canadian Prime Minister. I think they're just trolling a little bit because it isn't Justin Trudeau, Mr. Blackface. It's actually, what's his name?
I don't think Justin Trudeau could go into a shop like that, so Trump might pass and scare him.
Pierre Poilievre.
And
they want him to be the next Canadian Prime Minister. So he's a candidate for Canada.
He's keeps on promoting himself in all his tweets. I keep on liking it when he says that he's going to be the next Prime Minister. Yeah. So I'm like, I may not be Canadian, but...
Yeah, because as a reminder to anyone on the pod who doesn't know who Pierre Poilievre is, he's made a few appearances on here, hasn't he? As he's the Canadian politician that has held the Canadian government account for a lot of the COVID restrictions, lockdown, and then their spending policy.
Because they're like, we're going to introduce this infrastructure bill. He said, where's the money coming from? Yeah. And we're like, we're going to print it. And he's just like, where's it coming from? And that no one could answer where the money was coming from. It's just like, you're basically taking out everyone's pocket in order to bring this in.
Justify where this money's coming from?
Yeah.
But
they all just had slopey shoulders, didn't they? They all just looked at each other and went, "Oh, I'm not qualified to answer that question." I went, there's 14 of you here. One of you needs to know where this money is coming from. Like, where would we have spent the money instead?
Yeah.
You're taking the money from somewhere. It was either going to get spent on health, education. Like what? What are we not getting to get all this lockdown and more vaccines? And they all just looked at each other and went, "We're not qualified to answer the question." You know, are you printing it? Like, they didn't have a clue, did they? And he's just fair play. He's one of the few politicians that actually seems to have a standard of going, we need accountability. We actually need to ask proper questions.
He had been indoctrinated because I think we were watching videos going, what's this? Is he a Bitcoiner? And then I think he did some quotes out of like the Bitcoin study. You're like, oh, the other politicians may not have seen that, but we did.
Yeah, it was great.
So
maybe we can link that in the show notes.
Hopefully he's going to be Prime Minister, but I struggle to believe it'll actually get the backing to go in because he's going against the system.
Yeah, but actually, the story is actually it's him buying his lunch at, I can't quite see the restaurant name. I think it's like Tahiti's or something, which is well known as the guy that runs that restaurant is a massive Bitcoiner. He's been on a Bitcoin standard for years. So this is the Canadian Pierre Poilievre going there, buying his lunch with Lightning. And if you watch the little 1-minute video that's linked in the show notes, he's holding his burrito and he buys it with Lightning live there. It's all instant, 1 Satoshi fee next to basically 0.1 pence of a transaction fee. And he paid for his lunch instantly with Bitcoin. So it's good for people like him to see Bitcoin working in the real world because it kind of takes him from the theory of the Bitcoin standard into the real world where you've got a shop owner here selling his goods for Bitcoin. He can get his mobile phone out, tap it on there, bang, just like Apple Pay, just as quick, just as easy, but with Lightning. And good little example of Bitcoin in the real world from a politician who maybe is in the running to be PM of Canada. Imagine
He's
if
not the-
Canada go from like being authoritarian to being on a Bitcoin standard. That'd be nuts.
Oh,
He's not the leader of his own party yet.
No.
So we need that kind of step where he gets to be the leader before we can get hopeful. Then he's got to get past Justin Trudeau, protected by Klaus Schwab in his emperor gear.
Yeah, I can't see it personally. I can't see him getting there.
I think if he gets leader of the party, that's a big step, and I think
Yeah.
it'll create more publicity, and I think that's possibly the best which you can hope for. And I think the other issue with Canada is I don't think they actually get a majority ever, so it's always a coalition government formed. Because I think Trudeau, they got like 20% or something like that, and then I think during COVID, he saw his support go up and he got like 30 odd percent, but now it's gone down to record lows, I think, teens. But because he's in a coalition, it means that, he's still got majority of the government, even though it's not his party.
Yeah. I didn't see this story, just to interrupt and slightly go off topic, but is a favorite here. But Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy closes 205 million Bitcoin loan to buy more Bitcoin.
It was not MicroStrategy, was it? It was his subsidiary, MacroStrategy.
Really?
So MicroStrategy aren't buying Bitcoin, but MacroStrategy are.
I knew it was a subsidiary. I didn't know he was buying Bitcoin with it yet.
Yeah, it flashed up when I had Twitter up before.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this now. So, yeah, not on the agenda, but hey, this is the purpose of the show, right? To bring you the best stories that happen in Bitcoin. So, yeah, that's a great one. And I'm not too sure because I haven't had time to actually verify this one, but breaking news that Apple is to announce partnership with Strike to allow Bitcoin payments through the Apple Pay via the Lightning Network.
That's a troll. It's a troll.
That's a troll.
Oh,
I
got all excited then.
I'm not gonna lie, I got a little semi on under the desk right now, but
yeah,
quickly got that off.
That's why you do have to be careful about reading Bitcoin Twitter. there's a lot of trolls on there, and we've got a lot of fake partnerships. Like there's people like to have fun, and no, Apple are not going near Strike right now, unfortunately.
I've just finished reading Inventing Bitcoin. So in the back of it, he recommends a bunch of people on Twitter to follow. So I followed a load of them, but I'm sure some of them will get removed as time goes by because I doubt all of them are solely Bitcoin. I don't want any shit coins in my feed. Yeah,
and I think that book's like a couple of years old now, so I'd imagine even if they would have been Bitcoin only then. But yeah, over the last couple of years, undoubtedly some of our Bitcoiners have gone to shitcoin. So got to cleanse them, get rid of them.
Yeah, we'll see what they're all like, and then hopefully I'll get to see a bit more news.
God, we've already talked about this guy. Freaking Putin's on here again.
But I know that it'll get discounted from what he said. So this is around the fact that their reserves, which they've got stored in numerous different places, have been frozen by the EU and US. And this links to a story which we had probably about a month ago of the Hong Kong variety. So the truckers getting their funds frozen by the Canadian government, as in it's not your money, it's a central body's money. And this is what we've done to Putin because it's not their money. It's not the EU bank. It's not the US bank, whatever. It is Russia. And he's pointed this out, but I do think this will be swept under the rug because it's Russia. Oh, it's propaganda. Just ignore it. But they've taken Russia's money away from them, which they have no right to. So I think it's actually really good point by Putin. What's he said? The legitimate freezing of some of the currency reserves of the Bank of Russia marks the end of reliability of so-called first-class assets. US and EU have defaulted their obligations to Russia. Now everyone knows that financial reserves can simply be stolen. And that is exactly on the point. So if you think your money's safe in the bank, but you do something which the government doesn't like, they can stop you accessing your money, which we saw with the truckers in Canada.
Yeah.
And I think it is a very scary thing, which seems to have started happening. But I think the left are in full support of this. You should be punished for doing whatever, but the fact is it's Russia's money. It was the truckers' money.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is the Russian people's money as well. It's not, you're not necessarily just hurting Putin here. You're hurting this whole country of millions of people.
Yeah, ultimately, a lot of people will have lost a lot of wealth, which we covered in Pod 47. But we're never, or a country is never going to invade Russia, physically. So economically, this is the easiest way to stop the war.
Yeah. Or basically put someone to a point where they have no other option than to fight. It's almost like you're backing him to a corner where if you take all his money away and he literally has no way of earning money either, you've taken his savings through this, then his income is selling and exporting goods and receiving money. He can't do that.
No one wants it.
So we end up basically it does two things. It either forces an agreement with China, because they're the ones that don't give a shit. So they'll buy all this and they'll try and rebuild as a part
at a discount.
Yeah, they probably will get a nice little cheap. Yeah, if you're China, you're rubbing your hands together.
Yeah.
I'm the only customer in the market and you have a lot of shit to sell. I'll buy it for a discount. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And or if he can't get that deal done, it's not enough, then if we believe what we're told about him, he's just going to go full ham. He's not just going to concede and go, all right, you got me, fair cop. He's just going to go, fuck it, I've got nukes here, off they go. I don't know what we're doing. It's just fucking nuts. But yeah, to Dr. Eva's 10%'s point, if they can literally confiscate Russia's money and Putin's money, then they can freaking confiscate yours. And that includes your pension, your shares, your house, everything. They can get it. And when the time comes, they'll have a good excuse, just as they have now. They have a good excuse to do it to Putin. So they're doing it and it's justified and the public are happy. They will have a good excuse to steal your pension. They will have a good excuse to steal your house. They will have a good excuse. We won't know what it is yet, but when it comes, people will sign off on it.
And the majority will be happy about it.
Yep. Because and if anything, there'll be a lot of people that don't own homes, don't have a pension, and they'll go, good.
Yeah.
People that do have it, they use their privilege to get it. So how about we take it off them and even it out, and they'll celebrate it? Because if you probably actually look at it, the majority of people don't own homes and don't have a pension that's going to do anything for them in retirement years. They're going to be relying on the state to top it up. So you can almost see it now.
This. The majority of people I know aren't really saving for a pension.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for the good reason. Like, we don't do it for good reasons because we're going to do it somewhere else. Like, they're doing it for bad reasons because they're not even thinking to the age of 65. And they're still going to work to 65, paycheck to paycheck, all the way. And their paycheck's going to stop and they're going to go,
they think they're going to work till they're 65. They think they're going to retire by some good grace. But the fact is they're going to be working till they're 80.
Yeah.
Yep. Because there won't be any pension there.
It's just a shame that I donated my money to my Bitcoin to Ukraine.
Oh, man, I'm going to put you on my own personal sanctions list just for doing that.
What fucking sanctions are you going to give?
No,
your voice of every pod.
Yeah, no after pod BJs, obviously. You're sanctioned. And I know how much you like them.
Oh, fucking hell.
He's gutted. He's actually crying.
I'm crying.
He's devastated.
He's crying.
I just can't believe you said that in the middle of a pod. Oh, fucking hell.
So that's meant to be a little secret.
Yeah, hopefully Maya doesn't listen to this.
So never looks getting jealous.
If that doesn't inspire you to stay until the end, I don't know what will.
Well, not even, yeah. Actually, yeah, we're about an hour in, yeah. It's about now that it gets silly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next story is Russia now open to accepting Bitcoin, I guess, based on their money being stolen? Because as we know, Bitcoin is unconfiscatable. So breaking news is that Russia is open to taking payments for their natural gas, which they can't get rid of right now because countries have said, no, we don't want it until the war is over. And the chair of Congressional Energy Committee has said, well, if the payment is going to be a payment, we're open for that payment to be Bitcoin. So what do you guys think of this? Could this increase the Bitcoin price, and will they do it ultimately?
Yeah, and this isn't just some random person suggesting this or a rumor. This is the chair of Congressional Energy Committee, basically saying in a formal kind of press conference or whatever, interview, that they are open to accepting Bitcoin in return for natural gas, which is, I still can't quite believe he's saying this. Obviously he's saying it all in Russian, but if you read the comments, there's people translating and confirming this is what he said, and it comes from Bitcoin Magazine, so you can kind of make sure it's all been kind of sense checked. But this is just insane. If you rewind a couple of years, and you've got basically the head of the energy committee for one of the biggest natural resource countries in the world going, we accept Bitcoin for natural gas. I just gone, no way is this happening yet. Just no way that they've bent the knee that's this much. But yeah, if the West have basically pushed them into a corner, sanctioned them from the traditional financial market, so they've gone, well, fuck it. You can't block Bitcoin payments, so we'll accept Bitcoin. It's actually just stunning that this is actually happening. Because imagine if people start buying natural gas of Bitcoin. We're talking about big fucking payments here. This isn't, they can afford to send these transactions on the main chain. They don't need Lightning for this. I think they can afford the £1 fee. These are going to be millions and millions of pounds worth of transactions. Who knows? I don't think any transactions have happened, but even the fact he's saying he's open to it is just nuts, totally nuts.
I think it's interesting, but I also think it could be a bad thing. So it's the fact that we've had a couple of things about Russia linked through to Bitcoin. So it's not so much for the three of us who would just go, oh, that's good. That's good that people are making more uses. It's for you kind of NPC who goes, ooh, Russia have talked about using Bitcoin. That's bad. So that's a potential issue with this, because I think it's great they're to come up with a use case, which is to sell their goods in a neutral currency, and it is neutral. It's neutral in the fact that no one can confiscate it, as we saw in the previous one, and it's just generally because your political beliefs, because of whatever you are, it's not going to stop. You're not going to be stopped using it. But yeah, I do think it's a threat on adoption, and it's almost like it's been planned.
Yeah, it's potential. But I think once you get into Bitcoin, though, you realize Bitcoin is censorship resistant, and it's for everyone, and that includes your enemies. So, for Bitcoiners, we know that we had a whole pod saying Bitcoin's for Hitler. If he was around, Bitcoin would be using Hitler right now, and this is Putin's example. So if people are that stupid to go, oh, we should shut down Bitcoin because Russia are using it, it's just a fundamental dumbass use case. Which, come on, that isn't a good reason to ban Bitcoin just because some bad people are using it. Because guess what? Russia and all these countries used to use that would, China and Russia, a lot of them sell their oil and natural gas in dollars. So were dollars bad when they were buying it before and funding the Russian war machine? The only reason Russia is so rich like they are now is because Europe and America have been buying all the natural resources off them. So now they're trying to take a couple of quid round the back in Bitcoin, whilst their banking's got switched off. Now we're the bad guys. Now fuck off. But I get it. I can see how it can get spun that now Bitcoin's the problem. But the good thing is, even if it does harm adoption, they're the morons. So have fun staying poor. Good. And fundamentally, I think for price, it will pump it, because if you've got a country like Russia trying to get their assets up in Bitcoin because they can't trust the fiat currencies anymore, then man, if I could switch out like 500,000 idiots that can be turned off by this type of FUD, or one country like Russia instead, I'd probably take Russia. So.
In a roundabout way, this might be a win for Russia as well, because if they then start taking payments in Bitcoin, as we know, price will naturally go up. So they may have had their central bank reserves frozen, but guess what? They can make that up in a few years' time if they continue to accept these payments. They're like, yeah, keep that programmed money that's destined to go to zero anyway. We'll take this good stuff over here.
Yeah, because imagine if the banking really is switched off like completely, like Swift and whatever, Visa have switched off the banking, so literally no money can get into Russia, yet they want to sell a shit ton of natural energy and natural gas to China. China got to pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which means China need to buy a load of Bitcoin to send it.
Yeah.
That's number go up.
Yeah. So it could, in a roundabout way, be a good thing. And they wouldn't have necessarily ever done this had the war or obviously the sanctions been slapped on them.
Oh yeah, there's no chance they'd be doing this.
Yeah.
And if anything, though, I think we saw that Putin. This is why, again, it's all very suspicious, which is why I'm more buying into the maybe this is building up to some FUD for Bitcoin, because we literally had like story after story leading up to this Ukraine war, didn't we? Of Russia doing this, doing that, doing this. It's like, why are Russia suddenly getting into Bitcoin? And boom, war happens, and suddenly all their Bitcoin work has kind of proven very fruitful. You go,
yeah,
maybe it's just planning from Russia, but if they were planning to do a war, why were they publicizing their position on Bitcoin so heavily? Like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's like they've let us into their strategy. Like, why did you let us know? Weird.
Maybe it's the classic double bluff of, well, we always knew that they were going to be sanctioned anyway. So, well, as and when you do, we're ready for it. And this is going to be our backup plan to doing that. And we're going to get around it because we know that the Bitcoin isn't confiscatable.
Yeah. And talking about unconfiscatable, now we've kind of gone from countries, and then our next story is just about an individual.
Absolutely. Love this.
So this is about just a single Ukrainian. He's only 20 and goes under the name of Fady. Apparently that's not his real name. But yeah, he had about 40% of his life savings in Bitcoin. He's only 20, so he had about $2,000, and he needed to flee the country. He wanted to get out of Ukraine. Yeah. So he left. Obviously, the banks were pretty much closed. You can't do anything with your kind of fiat money or your worldly possessions. You can't really take them with you, but you can take his Bitcoin hard wallet with him. So he did. He fled, left the country, and I managed to have his $2,000 worth of Bitcoin with him at the other end, which gives him just a start. Just lets him get going in a new country where he doesn't have to start from completely zero. And I think it really does just tell you everything, really, because imagine if you landed in a country with a zero and then contrast that with landing in a country and having $2,000. It's night and day for me, because it just gets you that first roof over your head. You can eat. It gives you your first couple of months. Like, you're going to have to you're going to run out of money quick, don't get me wrong, but it gets you started. It gives you your first couple of months to like learn the new country, figure stuff out, meet some people, maybe get a job, find somewhere to live. And that's the difference, because potentially if you could have arrived, you might have been out on the streets. It's cold. Could literally just died of the cold, in the street. But because he had just that $2,000 worth of Bitcoin, then he gets to start. So it's one of the
as well. It's like, when you've got money, you just walk around with an extra pep in your step and a little bit extra more swag, don't you? Because just think, that you're not the only refugee that's fleeing your country, but hold on, I've got a little bit of spare change in my pocket compared to you, mofo. It's like, don't worry,
also
the drinks are on me.
It's also how he's storing it. So he hasn't got it in a devaluing currency, whatever the Ukraine one is, or even the Polish one. So you think it'd be $2,000, it'd be quite a lot of bloody banknotes, wouldn't it? So it's quite obvious his wallet would be fat, or he'd have it stored away. In this, it says he's got a USB, so it's a ledger, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that ledger, great. You can steal my ledger, but you steal it, you still don't know the PIN. You know, Correct. You still don't know the 8 digits in there. So it is quite ingenious for going cross borders. Oh, confiscated it. Well, you don't know how to fucking get the money. And maybe he's got the 24 words stored somewhere else in some other system.
Yeah. There was a tweet that I actually saw today from some moron. And they were saying how Bitcoin's just for crypto bros that want to get rich and drive Lambos. Like, there's no use case for Bitcoin. And I just had to comment and go, and literally this person, they were a massive virtue signaler. They had all the classic, they had their pronouns, Black Lives Matter, they had the Ukraine flag, the whole lot. They had the full.
Did they have a picture of themselves in a mask?
Oh yeah, they had that. Yeah. I think she was a feminist as well. It's like literally like woke bingo, like ding, 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 ding. And literally my comment was just, you literally have the Ukraine flag in your bio or in your name, and Ukrainians are using Bitcoin right now to take their wealth out of their currency and fleeing and setting up elsewhere. And you can't even see it just because I think she was American, just because you live in a country. And she talks, like, all her things were about privilege and giving back and all that stuff. It's like, your financial privilege, you have no fucking clue. Like, there's so many people in countries and they're fleeing with just the couple of grand that they have, and they can't take it if it's in a bank or you've got it in gold or whatever. Like, you can't fucking take it. It's locked away or it's too heavy to carry. Got it in Bitcoin, you can take it. Like, this is the use case for Bitcoin. Like, yeah, okay, fine. There's plenty of people in the UK, in rich countries that do own Bitcoin and might own a lot of it. Yeah, fine. But there's plenty of people that just have little scraps of it, and it's saving their lives. It's literally, Bitcoin is saving lives. And just to dismiss it as a crypto bro thing, it's just fuck off.
Because this part of the story isn't really broadcast on the news networks naturally, because you will see, and I've seen it a few times now with Afghanistan and with Ukraine, just as the war was beginning in Afghanistan in terms of the US leaving, the pictures on the TVs were people outside of banks, and those people outside of the banks were trying to get out as much as they could, as much as they were allowed. There was a raid on ATMs if they were able to get to those ATMs. Obviously, oil prices shot up sky high and people were trying to get out as best as possible. But that story isn't really being told to people. All they just see is, okay, people just queuing up. Great. But why are they queuing up? They're trying to get their money out and they are trying to set up somewhere else. And if the story, because I actually heard on the news where somebody had taken in a refugee from the Ukraine, and so they were registering him with the doctor and the dentist, and then obviously like housing him and looking for a job. And what was really difficult is that he didn't speak any English, but if he had the ability to also have a little bit of money, that would even give him, a little bit more self-worth as well. But these stories aren't being told. It's just Russia's bad, Ukraine's good, and that's it.
We've had a number of use cases lately. So we've got the refugee one. We've got remittances, which we've talked about a lot. We've got the unbankables, which we've talked about a lot. And then we've got the protesters that the government disagree with. Whether you agree or disagree with the protesters is a moot point, because it could be something which you don't agree with right now, but you look back in 20 years' time and you go, that protest was needed. Women's rights, whatever else could have been. But, at the moment it was about truckers' vaccination. They didn't believe it should be mandatory because they're in a cab on their own, for starters. And they protest against it and they froze their bank accounts. That's a perfect use case. And there's been numerous times in the history where protests have been looked down upon by the general public because of the government's positioning. So just think about that. So yeah, the whatever person who you were talking to earlier on Twitter, I think they're just clueless. I think it's just almost jealousy that they weren't in on day one. Is what it comes down to. You've all got this. I want this, but I'm not looking over my shoulder at the starving people around the world.
Yeah, I mean, once you've brought into all that woke culture, you're just a professional victim at that point. Everybody has something that you want, and you're not willing to put the work in and spend the time doing the work and actually achieving something. You just want it to be.
So did you actually send her a detailed message, or did you just send her a meme?
No, I actually did go, you've got financial privilege, go and ask people in Ukraine, Russia, Venezuela, Argentina, etc., what Bitcoin's good for, because it's saving lives, not just for crypto bros. I did give her a proper message.
Did you get a response?
No, of course not. At this point, she had about 3,000 replies. It's gone viral.
Did you follow up with a dick pic?
Yeah. I get the proper reply live, then I go to DM, dick pic, in it goes.
Done.
Put a little smiley face on it. I like to put a Pepe the Frog on the tip, which leads us on to the next story. Freaking out. So we're in shitcoin corner. This is where we get
get messy.
So this is hilarious, right? So this is a story. I actually forgot about this one because it's like a week old. We had it on last week's agenda. But yes, there's a new set about NFTs that were coming out where essentially someone, I don't even know who the guy was, but apparently he was meant to just release a single NFT of Pepe the Frog. And it's in the article. It's literally
it was a single particular image, wasn't it? There was a collection. So there's a collection of frogs, Pepe the Frog, but it was this one image which it was only going to show. And I somehow managed to miss it when I read the article. It's right at the top, and I'm just like, oh my God.
It's just a Pepe the Frog looking at a waterfall a bit flirtatiously.
Yeah, it's quite sensual.
And it's obviously part of a really prestigious collection. And the owner of these NFTs said, this one, there will only be one. So some guy buys it for $500,000. And then a couple of days later, once the guy's gone, you know what? I want a little bit more money. He released another 46 of the exact NFT that he just brought. And now this guy that brought the one for $500,000 has the balls to go, I'm suing you for that. Like, dude.
But it's never from my understanding, it's not contracted anywhere, but he would. And also it was art, and it's a miracle that he managed to reproduce this image 46 more times.
I know. So it's a stupidity tax. And it's crazy that someone's got $500,000 to spend on a freaking JPEG, but
yeah.
It's basically gambling, isn't it? We've said it about NFTs and shitcoins, they fit into it. People say, oh, it's art or whatever, and it's just like, it's a fucking JPEG. Someone's done it and they can just copy and paste. Or fact is, they're probably using some kind of aid to, well, actually, let me look at the image. The fucking image would have taken 10 minutes anyway to produce on Paint by someone who uses Paint regularly. So, you look at traditional art, something which someone has honed their craft for years and years, and a single piece would take them 6 months to make. Whereas this has taken someone 10 minutes. It isn't very good on Paint, and you've paid $500,000 for it. You're a fucking moron.
I actually like in the article, actually does even say, so the auction for the NFT is showing a controversial meme figure, Pepe the Frog, which has mostly been associated with memes from the alt-right movement in the United States. Dude, I can't believe they're still saying that. That was a troll from 4chan about freaking 5 years ago, if not, no, when Trump came in, which is like 7 years ago.
Yeah, but anyone or anything which is claimed to be far right, alt-right, or whatever it is, it sticks.
I can't believe people are still writing it though. Like, everyone knows that was a troll now. It's just literally 4chan went, let's see if we can pretend that Pepe the Frog, let's make him into a Nazi symbol. We'll just say it. and let's see if we can get them to believe it. And now
They've done it
7
with
years
other
later, they're still saying it's an alt-right. It's not. It's
But
just
how could it be an alt-right? I don't really understand it.
Yeah, I didn't ever get that.
I'd love to find like an actual alt-right guy, like a proper like Nazi, like who is a proper like fucking nutter, and go, "What do you think of Pepe the Frog?" He go, "The fuck are you talking about?" Exactly. Like you don't know. It's a troll. The whole thing's a troll, and I can't believe it. I missed that bit the first time I read this article that they still think it's alt-right. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I thought buying the NFT for 500,000 was the stupidest thing, but actually referring to Pepe as alt-right is actually the stupidest thing in this article.
Have you ever taken the time to look into Decentraland or the Sandbox?
I know about it, but no, I've never like gone too far with it. It's just shitcoin fucking city, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about having a look. Experimenting.
Have a little look, and you'll just realize that essentially, remember like what was it, Bebo and MySpace? Remember that? It's a 3D version of that.
Yeah,
Proper
because
shit.
ultimately, yeah, because people are buying these NFTs to essentially show them off in Decentraland and the Sandbox. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but I still really want to understand why. Are people really going there like a virtual art museum to show off this right-wing Pepe the Frog? Or, and the 46 lucky winners that got it for free as well. So I think when I've got a bit of spare time on my hands, I'll have a look. But just purely out of curiosity, not to buy. JPEGs are not for me.
Yeah. If anything, did you ever play Second Life?
No.
It's basically like that, but like Second Life, it's basically just a digital world. It's just a version of this where you can have a home, you can buy land. If you do tasks, you get more land. You can earn in currency, like money, and basically it did take off quite a lot, and they did have an in-game currency that was worth real life money, but that was before Bitcoin and crypto. So essentially, all they did is relaunch all that stuff and then put crypto on it. But at the moment, none of the projects talk to each other. They reckon that, it's on the blockchain. That means it can be used in Decentraland. No, it can't. They're all different. It's just bollocks. It's just all bollocks. It's just, none of it works, right? So like this picture, right? You go, right. If you've got that picture, you're either the guy that bought it for 500 grand or you're the guy that got it one of the 46 free ones. It's only 47. No. I could shove that picture on the blockchain, link it in Decentraland, and shove it on my back wall in my house in Decentraland. Now what?
Yeah.
You're going to walk in and go, are you the 500 grand guy? I'm like, yeah. Like, prove me wrong. The picture's there on the wall. It's digital.
I'd walk in and go, are you a Nazi?
Now I'd refuse to answer the question.
I
think you probably are counted the question. I think you probably are counted as being alt-right.
Probably, who knows? I reckon, depending on who you ask, if you ask the alt-right, it's alt-left and fucking Antifa. If you asked Antifa, they'd say I'm alt-right. Everyone hates me. I'm a unique position.
I think everyone who reads your LinkedIn post would probably put you as alt-right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that's just anyone they disagree with has to be alt-right. So, fuck LinkedIn. So, and fuck Ripple. That's our next story.
Ripple. I thought that thing died a death.
I know, they're trying to make themselves relevant again, and I hate the fact that we might actually be helping them become relevant. But they did have a good catch line in this one.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. Yeah.
I like the little tagline that they've gone, which is change the code, not the climate. That is genius. Like, as we know, taglines and catch lines, like everyone's been doing the energy FUD on Bitcoin. No one's come up with something this good, which is change the code, not the climate.
And they link the two together, which is nice, but not nice. But
this is, like you said, it's irrelevant to this. co-founder Larson. So he wants to finance 5 million to finance an effort to change Bitcoin to proof of stake from proof of work. So basically changing some of the core principles of Bitcoin to not be Bitcoin.
Happen.
But there are other shit coins. If he wants to go and play with shit coins, he can fuck off with Dogecoin, SHIB, Ethereum, what the fuck he wants. But Bitcoin is proof of work. And I know we covered this quite some time ago, but I think it's a differentiation between proof of work and proof of stake, which most people won't understand. So proof of work is intensive because obviously, Mr. Orlin, correct me if I'm wrong. The whole point is it gives equal almost voting rights or checking rights to all the different miners. So it goes, do you want to check this block? And everyone throws up a number. And then it goes, I'm going to pick this number. And it goes, that miner gets to do the check for me to check that it aligns. So what this means is it's a kind of almost, I use the word again as I did earlier in the pod, neutral approach. So you're basically going, this is the miner which does it. And it was pure lottery chance that they got to do it because they picked the right number. And it means that they're going to check it. So the chances of this person miner knowing that transaction is minuscule, like, you know, an absolute fraction of a percentage. Whereas a proof of stack is you give those rights to check to people with the biggest amount of stake or money. So it's actually moving away from something which is, you can almost describe as an equal system, because no matter how little you have or how much you have, you got the same voting rights. Whereas in proof of stake, you're really fucking rich. You get to do what you want. And that's a risk around proof of stake. But people want to move away from it because it boils the oceans.
Yeah,
but we ignore what the banks are doing at the moment.
Yep.
This would be, because he's being clever, hasn't he? So because Ripple essentially, it's hilarious because Ripple's not even proof of stake. It's just a fucking database. Ripple literally is owned by a single company called Ripple, and I think it's got 10 nodes which are all owned by Ripple, and they just pass transactions between them. So they just verify it themselves. If they want to change the supply, they can. If they want to edit transactions, they can. And their whole use case when they first came out was, oh, but we're faster than Bitcoin. The fees are cheaper. And you just go, well, yeah, because you're not doing any verification. There's no security. It's like me updating my Excel spreadsheet. How much does it cost me to type in a number in Excel? Nothing.
Yeah.
How quickly does it go in? Instant. Nothing. There you go. I'm Ripple. But
also, I think you said it a couple of shows ago, but if the amount of people using Bitcoin increase the whole world, if the miners don't increase, then we don't use more power because they can handle the network. They don't need any more miners in there.
Correct.
So it's basically, can you moderate it? And then also, if it's renewable energy, such as volcano, wind, solar, whatever else, what's the harm? And most of Bitcoin is moving away because it's so expensive to mine Bitcoin. They need something cheap in order to mine it. So it's kind of a bit of a idiotic point for him to gain relevance and jump on it. But then it's like, oh, they're not going to change their code. I threw in 5 million. Use Ripple.
Yeah, it's hilarious as well. This guy is a multi-billionaire. He took Ripple from tiny fractions of a penny up to $3, and then they've been dumping like hundreds of millions every month for about 5 years worth of Ripple on their stupid little Ripple XRP army. They're called the XRP army, and I don't know how they did this marketing campaign, but I think they did it mainly on Facebook, where they just got everyone to believe that Ripple was the regulated version of Bitcoin. And these guys got super rich off it, like stupidly rich. So for him to be going, I'm going to put 5 million to help Bitcoin go to proof of stake is a laughably small number. If he's not at least doing 100 million, 200 million, it pretty much means his heart isn't even in this. It's
just an advert for Ripple.
This tagline, though, could well catch on. This will change the code, not the climate. I like that. I like that as a tagline. It's clever. it's bollocks, but it's clever. And I can guarantee we're going to hear this again.
Well, it'll keep on getting responses from me and you probably.
Yeah, I'll keep calling him a moron.
keep me updated on that, because ultimately they're not going anywhere and they're trying to get back to their all-time high. I think, was it in 2018 when everyone was buying Ripple?
2017.
2017, yeah.
Yeah. It was
so
it was kind of like the original Dogecoin in a way.
Yeah, it was definitely.
I had some Ripple, and I only realized where it was. I think it took me about 3 months to actually find where I bought it. And I sold it, exchanged it for Bitcoin, and then I can't get the fucking Bitcoin out of that exchange.
Double sanctions. Have you ever seen anybody on one podcast get double sanctions?
What was a double sanctions? Because single sanction was no blowjob at the end of the show.
Yeah, this is the second one.
Yeah,
you're not getting your Bitcoin back. And it's a good punishment because it used to be Ripple. It's like the only bit of Bitcoin I would never want. The Bitcoin that's been converted from Ripple, like, oh, it's just tainted.
Yeah.
Well, it's a kind of it's evolution of a Bitcoiner. You go through a shitcoin stage.
Yeah, it was weird though. When I was in the same office as you guys, massive Bitcoiner, telling everyone. And weirdly, I think I may have even had the odd shitcoin. I might have been experimenting. But even I knew Ripple was 100% scam. I knew it was. I fundamentally knew it was a scam. I actually think at the time I was actually a little bit like open to things like Ethereum. So my brain hadn't evolved enough at that point. But everyone in our office was buying Ripple, and I'm like, why are you even buying this thing? Like, what is your like? You haven't heard about Bitcoin really. You got no interest in that. But you want to buy Ripple. Like, what's happened? Like, where have you all coming from? It's like these zombies coming out of the freaking corridors trying to hunt me down, asking my opinion on Ripple. I'm like, it's a scam, don't buy it. They're like, I've already bought a couple of grand's worth. I'm like, well, maybe you want to undo that decision. It's like, I'm going to hold. Apparently it's going to like $100. Like, it's only $2 at the moment, and Bitcoin's at like 15,000. So if it can get to 1,000, I'm like, do you know how many Ripple there are in the world? I'm like, no. Do you know how many Bitcoin there are? Like, no. I'm like, well, there's 21 million Bitcoin and there's 100 trillion Ripple. So if Ripple got to $1,000, that's like 20 times the entire wealth of the globe. So just so you know, it ain't getting there. And they just look at me blank and go, yeah, well, mate on Facebook said that it's going to $10. So I'm like, fuck yeah. Help when staying poor.
In that time, it was that crypto madness. I bought Bitcoin, I bought Ethereum, and I bought Ripple. And I basically just sat on them for years until I kind of like started looking to the space again. And then I sold Ethereum, I sold Ripple, and I bought more Bitcoin because it was that initial one. Oh yeah, there's all this new kind of like currency. Let's buy some. As speculation where you are just buying shit, and that's a problem.
Yeah. For me, it had all the vibes of being a scam, like the whole vibe of people jumping on it. And I just thought, no. But in a way, I kind of think, well, that's how people think about Bitcoin. But obviously we know that there's so much more behind it and the thesis behind it. But yeah, it just never, ever gripped me whatsoever to want to run out.
Put a cheeky 50 quid in?
Zero.
Yeah, I think I put 100 quid. I got some gains on it, like minimal, but I just sold it off, when I came back to it. Because I think I bought it before it went up and I should have really sold it when it was at its peak, but I just sat on it.
You never know when the peak is, do you, at the time?
No, yeah, exactly. I wasn't really paying attention. I just bought a few cryptocurrencies for speculation for the future, not knowing what I was buying.
Yeah, I remember people like come up to me in the office, and weirdly they worked in the finance sector, and they're going, yeah, these guys are going to replace the settlement layer of banks, and it's going to be revolutionary. Like, they're just going to run the whole game. And like, for me, who had worked as an implementation consultant, just doing relatively basic integrations into a couple of banks, I just went, have you got any idea how shitty their fundamental technology is? the banks use mainframes. Like that's technology from the 80s. And you think Ripple are going to come along, rip all this stuff out, get them all collaborating, and then suddenly they now own the banking system. So all the big major banks are now going to basically, the only thing they really do, which is settlement of money, they're going to outsource that to Ripple. Number one, it's not possible without breaking everything. Number two, what is their incentive? Because they lose all control of their money, and they're basically just outsourced their entire business to Ripple, and now Ripple are now the central bank of the globe. There's no chance they even want to do it. And even if they did want to do it, they can't. Everything that I've integrated into a bank has been like some weird API on an API on another integration of a new system that fundamentally is still back-ended to the mainframe. So it's always cobbled on to like the 17th evolution of the banking system. That's the integration we do. But whenever they do it, they're like, oh, it needs to basically work in the mainframe back here. And you're like, this is insane. Like, I can't believe the banks are still working like this. So their entire use case was absolute bollocks. And I think that helped me just completely dismiss Ripple, because I knew their whole use case was, we're going to replace the back end of banks. I'm like, well, I know that's impossible. So
Bitcoin's going to replace banks.
Yeah, it's going to replace them by making them irrelevant. That works. Like that I can believe in. Actually getting the banks to buy into it and replace their back end and put Bitcoin in, nope. No. If we're gonna have banks, we're gonna have new banks that start up Bitcoin only. They will be the new banks. The traditional banks will just go the way of the dinosaur.
Yeah, I've said it before. The exchanges will be the new banks of tomorrow.
Yeah, they're already doing lending. Yeah, it's just a matter of time until all the functionality you have with a bank. They're already doing bank cards and stuff, aren't they? You can have your Coinbase card, your Gemini card. Like, you're spot on. Yeah, you're, instead of having a Barclays or a NatWest or a HSBC card, you have a Coinbase card or a Gemini card or whatever it is.
I might start my own.
Yeah. You can only put 10% of your money in there.
Yeah, exactly. Need to generate my money for my new boat.
What's called the 10% bank. You only put 10% of your money in.
So we're going to move on to the final story.
Final story. Let's see if they're still with us. We're still here. The last one to go.
They're holding out for the blowjob now.
They're going to hope we don't switch the mics off at the right time.
Right, the Prince of Crypto. Vitalik. Yeah.
So this is insane, right? So the Time magazine, I don't know if this is their yearly one. I really hope it isn't. I hope they do a monthly version now or something. But like the Prince of Crypto has concerns, like is the title, and it's got the worst picture of Vitalik I've ever seen. It's just, and this is one of the reasons, right, why it's so important that like Satoshi isn't known, because this is what they'd want to do to him. They'd want to make him into some kind of weird celebrity, and then once they do that, it's everyone's got opinions now and go, why doesn't it look like a Satoshi to me, or something he says I don't like. This is why like Ethereum is just such a shit coin. I can't believe it's carried on for this long. But Vitalik on the front cover of this is the Prince of Crypto. I'm like, it's fucking disgraceful. But I kind of get it, because if you're a moron, you like crypto, he is. I like how they haven't said king, because you know who the king is. The king is Satoshi. And
I thought you were going to say Michael Saylor.
He's a Giga Chad.
Yeah, it's a Giga Chad.
But like, so even in this, even like when Vitalik is probably technically the richest guy probably in crypto, but everyone always kind of goes, yeah, but he's not number one. That spot is permanently reserved for Satoshi. But he can be number two. And I'm like, all right, fine. He's kind of got the second coin, but it's a first place, and then first place with 100 points, and then Vitalik comes in with like half a point. Like, he's number two. There was no competition. It wasn't a close run. He's so far down, but I can't believe they've written a whole article on him, but I kind of get it because the whole world likes the shitcoin right now. So
yeah,
he does look like a crackhead on the cover.
He does, yeah. Have you seen the memes
in real life?
Yeah, the memes underneath are pretty legendary.
Oh no, I haven't actually looked at those because I read the article rather than looking through the comments, which is a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, there's a great one of Vitalik. He's on a live stream and he's on his phone. He picks his nose and wipes it on the wall. Like that's in there.
He fights to find excuse to delay Ethereum's transition to proof of stake for 5th year in a row. Oh, it's got the pre-mine stuff.
Yeah, see, that's one thing that not a lot of people, I believe, know, in terms of the 70% of Ethereum has already been pre-mined and has gone to the likes of Vitalik. And then if they do know that, then the importance of what they're actually buying, and then of course how the number has changed from the maximum supply to what it is right now, and of course how that number can continue to increase. And just those fundamentals will make people stop, or should make people stop and think, really, is this right for me to continue to buy into this?
If you feel that way, like literally, you figured out fiat inflates too fast. You can't control it. There's a couple of guys that are just controlling the supply, printing loads of it and just giving it to their mates. And you go, oh, right, okay. So crypto is the way out, right? Already you're probably wrong. But, oh, Ethereum's a thing. And, oh, what's Ethereum? It's number 2. It's the same thing. It started with a couple of guys. They gave themselves 70% of the supply. So you're already fighting over the final 30, but they're already inflating the supply on top of that. And it's just, it's no better than fiat. If anything, it's actually worse because has
it got proof of stake in there? So no. Really, I thought it did.
It's trying to move towards it. It's still proof of work at the moment. And Vitalik has been trying to move to proof of stake for about the last 2 years. And they still haven't done it yet.
Oh, so it really is just fiat, like the central bank can make any change which they want at any point.
Yeah, at least at the moment. Like the problem is, like technically it's proof of work, but no one can run an Ethereum node because it's full of JPEGs and bollocks. So the node is so big to run it. You basically need a fucking supercomputer to run an Ethereum node. So no one runs a node. So even though it's proof of work, it's pointless that it is proof of work because there's like 10 guys running the nodes. So when they move to proof of stake, it will actually make a little bit more sense because they just move to a database then where the people with the most coins make the calls, which is still the case now. They just, instead of burning energy for no reason, they stop burning energy. So it's actually probably one of the use cases of a coin moving from proof of work to proof of stake. I would support Ethereum to do that because the energy they use is genuinely 100% a waste of time. Because it's not decentralized anyway. Like Bitcoin is at least decentralized.
So at the moment, it is basically just a giant flicker, isn't it? You know, we discussed this before because it is just a load of images. It's a load of shit. It's not proof of stake. It's not proof of work. There's no standard monetary policy put in there. So originally, I've read that there's been a whole load of new coins put on in the last 3 years, like significant. I don't know what the inflation is per year. And then they talked about making it deflationary for a while because they've realized they put too many coins on, but I don't believe they've done that.
They've done part of that. They do burn some of the new coins. So on certain days, they are slightly deflationary, but most days they're not.
So they claim they're deflationary because on a Tuesday they burn 10% of the coins, but they still produce them Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the 90% on Tuesday.
It's so dumb, yeah.
It's talking. I think it's about the code base as well. Like every single piece of complexity is just piled upon. So even without the images, it's overly complicated. So like you said, the nodes can't run it.
And are we right in thinking that the network is only going to get more and more plugged up, given the fact that more and more people are using Ethereum for these JPEGs? And so the more JPEGs that are created, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's the main reason they want to move to proof of stake, because it basically reveals or unhinges a lot of the bottlenecks, because when you're proof of work, you actually need to genuinely like mine each block and process it. So when people are just putting through so many transactions that are just bollocks because loads of people are just experimenting with various shitcoins and JPEGs, they're all on Ethereum. It clogs the network up.
Where do the JPEGs go in proof of stake?
It's only a link to the JPEG. So, but it's in the blockchain.
Just to check on the blockchain that, oh, this JPEG originally relates to Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man. But so what? You know, ultimately, I can just right-click it and I've got it too.
Yeah.
Thanks for paying for it.
And the funny thing is, right, when you just put a link to a JPEG in a blockchain and go, that's what you own. In reality, you own the link.
Yeah.
Like what I put at the end of that link can change, which is why I think we had an NFT project a couple of months ago where someone sold a load of JPEGs and they were like normal pictures. Everyone brought them and you just replaced them with like Bix or something. And it's like, because the link, you bought the link, you brought the link to a website and I can just change the website to whatever I want. But
do people really take the time out to go onto the blockchain to have a look as to see who owns that JPEG and see the link? Is that, again, I'm talking from a place of, you know, relatively non-experience of, you know, do I want to see who owns the original Mona Lisa? Yeah, maybe I want to go to the Louvre, but I don't really care who owns this dick pic. Yeah. Digital dick pic.
Yeah. There is definitely like there's a subculture of people that flex. So in crypto land and NFT land, that is, so the main NFT network is OpenSea, and yeah, you would publish your OpenSea account and make it public, and then people can see what NFTs you own. And it's just a little online flex, but only a couple of thousand people, maybe 10, 20,000 people give a shit about that stuff. It's just literally an online flex. It isn't oh wow, look at the artwork you own. In reality, the only reason I'm clicking your OpenSea link is to go, are you rich? And if you've got a couple of $1 million worth of NFTs in there, it shows me that you're super rich because you've thrown away 2 million quid that you don't even give a shit about on pictures. So now maybe I would rate your opinion more on Twitter because you're rich now and you've proven it. But there's a million ways, if you honestly think that like by having wealth makes your opinion more valid, which obviously it doesn't. If you honestly want to do that, there's a million ways of doing that in the modern world anyway. Like, that's what Instagram's for. And it's literally like a geek's version of Instagram is what NFTs are, is what I'd say. Because a lot of geeks, they don't care about the clothes and about the cars and about the houses. They're happy living in a basement in the dark. And so the way to flex on other people that live in the basement in the dark is just to buy online things that are just stupidly expensive and then go, look what I've got. And they're like, wow, you've got the latest Pepe. And but when they grow up, they're going to realize
skin to like crocodile snake skin in fluorescent green.
Yeah. And weirdly, they're probably kids. A lot of them are kids and they've managed to make millions of dollars in these shitcoin lands and they've bought some JPEGs and they're flexing. And I'm sure they'll look back in 10, 20 years time and go, it'll all be gone by then. They'd have lost it all probably. And they'll be having massive regrets and they'll be Bitcoiners. But and so they'll regret everything.
Did you have a scan through the article at all?
No, I never even clicked the link.
So there's some crap in there. I read about 2/3 of it and I just got fed up. So it was Ethereum has made a handful of white men rich and polluted and is a vehicle for tax evasion, money laundering and scams.
Nice.
So he's basically talking about his own invention. You know, it's made him rich and his mates rich and it's just not controlled. And then he wants Ethereum to be the launchpad for universal basic income, adding he wants it to be a counterweight to authoritarian governments. But I was just like, that's what authoritarian governments use to control people.
That's socialism, mate, dickhead.
Yeah, and he basically wants socialism. So, and I'm kind of going, you grew up in a communist country, which is basically what socialism leads to. And you want to have part two.
Yeah, I'm going to fix that by doing it again.
But this time we'll do it right.
Yeah, this time it's different. Right. I wanted to leave on a fucking high, but this has just got me fucking depressed.
Anything that anyone can say to redeem the pod for those that have taken the time to get all the way here, or have just simply scrubbed to get to the very end to see if they've missed anything interesting?
Well, we had a double whammy of shitcoin, which I think was the issue. We need to end on a funny story, not on a shitcoin.
Yeah.
So it just highlighted what a shitcoin Ethereum was.
I know. Yeah. I hoped that was just going to be a laughing at Vitalik on the picture, but then we started talking about Ethereum and it got me depressed.
I suppose on a bit of a tangent to move away from this, but it may annoy you again. Have you seen what Bill Gates been promoting this week?
Alopecia drugs?
His 20-car garage that he's got.
He's been going on about how everyone should be eating, not eating meat. And what's he bought over the last 2 years?
Land.
Farms.
Lots of farmland. So what's he going to do on the farmland?
Graze cattle.
Fuck no. Grow soybeans.
Is he actually? Oh fuck! He's getting rid of the cattle. No, he's bought the fucking cattle land. He's going to put soybeans on it. There won't be any fucking meat to eat.
And so he can profit. Get rid of the cows. Grow the soy. Eat my soy.
Body chest.
Yeah, he's done it. And this is why he's done it. And then the other bit about him, really interesting this week. What's he just purchased this week after warning everyone about climate change and rising water levels?
New boat.
A beachfront property, which should be underwater in 20 years' time.
Yeah, it clearly doesn't give a fuck, does he?
So on a positive, listen to Bill Gates because he knows what is right for you.
It's a classic example of don't listen to what people say, watch what they do.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
If you watch what Bill does, climate change is bollocks, and eat as much meat as you want.
And also, someone who tells you what to eat, look at them.
Yeah.
Like, I would not.
Funny as he got, like, you could get a personal trainer, right? He's got the worst. I wouldn't even mind if he's just fat, but he's got this weird, like the weirdest kind of fat. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, it's a weird body shape. And did you see that documentary that was a limited time on Netflix with him? Because I'm sure he said like a burger or something, like when he was being given the choices of what he'd like to eat.
Oh, did he?
Well, yeah,
that's favorite meal, a burger.
Yeah,
that's probably why it was limited time on Netflix. He's like, I need to take that down because I said I like burgers. Get it down.
Yeah. I
need to say I'm vegan now. Pretend secretly they're all having massive steak dinners behind the scenes and making us eat the fucking bugs. Fuck those guys.
That's a great place to land, right there.
Will Smith, slap it out.
Shitcoiners, stay the fuck out of my tweets. Yeah. Okay. So that has been pod number 48. He's been Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man. This is Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ. You are definitely the People's Champ. I am Sir Neverlook, the excellence of execution, and she is Mrs. No Show, aka the same. Mrs. No Show. Peace out.